So Bernie he's tweeted this out today, which is a good tweet. He said, suspend evictions, foreclosures, and utility shutoffs nationwide. To me, that sounds like a great idea to do in an emergency. And what I said, so United is asking for $50 billion. I just showed you that. United is asking for $50 billion. And I said, well, for that $50 billion, could we at least get bigger seats, more legroom, and no fees for luggage? Do we at least demand more legroom and bigger seats, no luggage, fees for luggage? Can we at least get that? We're going to give them $50 fucking billion. Can we at least make the flying experience pleasant? Can we at least do that? If we're going to fund this, why don't we fund something nice that we like? I'm serious. Here's another serious question. Why don't we just give the money directly to everyone in the form of a UBI? And then also unemployment insurance. So those people are going to lose their job at United. They're going to get unemployment insurance. Plus, they're going to get a UBI check from the government. Why do they also need to keep their fucking jobs if there's no business? I mean, if there's
who's flying?
There's nobody flying, so they're just going to show up to work and not do anything but get a check. How about we just give them UBI, unemployment insurance, and then fuck you, United. Or if we do that, we take over the goddamn airline. So I said, United's employees would all get a check without giving it to the CEOs and management's bonus and salary. That's to me. I want somebody to tell me why they can't do that. So this guy who follows me, he's a writer in an unconditional basic income UBI advocate. Oh, he says unconditional basic. I say universal. I guess look at that. An unconditional basic income advocate with a crowdfunded basic income. Board of Directors, Fund for Humanity. He's a senior policy advisor to Mike for Kentucky. So he says this. I can see people's misunderstanding of UBI already leaking into the emergency UBI plans. Let me try and explain. UBI is about creating an unconditional floor no one can fall beneath that lifts everyone in the economy away from the $0 point. It's not meant as a job replacement. Okay? I think the desire to do things like rent and mortgage freezes is out of fear. Well, also out of necessity. But I see where you're going. What we want is to make sure people can pay their rent and mortgage in the same way they already were. If we freeze stuff, we have to then bail out stuff later. Focus on maintaining consumption instead. That makes sense. So if you put a freeze on mortgages and rents and all, so you put a freeze on rents, well, now your landlord's just going to lose money. And so he's going to, at some point, you got to pay. Right? And he's going to have to bail. So you got to either bail the bank out who's not getting the mortgage payment, or you got to bail out the landlord, or you got to bail. So there's going to be, what he's saying, there's going to be a back-end bailout if you put a freeze on everything. Why not just keep everybody consuming in the same way they are and give direct pay? So what do you say? I say yes. I'm with him on this.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Makes sense.
And I also have a question for my genius people out there. I don't understand, okay, why don't we just put a pause on rent, on mortgages,
this is
on
what
debts?
he's explaining.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Why can't we just do that? And it's like, it's just, we reset. And then when we can, we go back to usual. Yes, that's what I'm agreeing with.
The trick here is to maintain the circulation of blood to get oxygen into every cell, not decide which organs to shut down to conserve blood. Besides UBI as a minimum floor, I think our local restaurant we love also needs the government to buy close to the average amount of sales. Basically, we need UBI for people as individual consumers. But because we are in a shutdown scenario, we also need to go one step up and have the government buy what we would have been buying in a universe where the pandemic doesn't exist. We need to try and emulate that universe. That seems like a big. So he's not only is he saying give money directly to people so they can buy stuff, he's saying give money directly to companies in the equal to the amount of stuff they would have sold. That seems a heavy lift. I'm not saying it can't be done. I don't know what the numbers would be on something like that. But that seems like a crazy heavy lift. So now so we would just give United Airlines whatever they would have made in April? That's what he's saying. That seems...
Well, see,
my reflex is that's nuts. But what do I know? All right. So a lot of times, so go ahead.
Well, we went back, we talked years ago about the whole idea of when we bailed out the banks, why that money didn't go right into the pockets of the people.
That's a great point, Steph. So what we would say here at the show is when they bail out the banks, why wouldn't they just give the money straight to us? We will put our money in the bank.
In my mortgage.
Give the money to me. I'm going to put it in, or just make a direct deposit to me in my bank. That way the bank has the money and I have the money. So this idea of you just give if you give everybody who works at that business a direct UBI check and an unemployment check, aren't you taking care of this problem? That's the problem I have with this. Is that he's saying you got to save the company, the corporations, and the businesses like his local theater. But if everybody who works at that theater is already getting unemployment and a UBI check, doesn't that kind of take away the problem? So, all right. These are questions. We'll get Dylan Radigan on to answer them tomorrow. How about that? The trick here is to maintain the circulation. Oh, we already said that. Basically, instead of a pause button approach, which is what you're advocating for, Steph, instead of a pause button approach, it's a simulated play button approach. You keep the music going, but do it in a way where the volume is turned down a bit. Then, when the pandemic is over, crank the music back up and keep the UBI as the foundation we've always needed. I'm for that. He says utilize unemployment insurance pipes on top of UBI for those who have been let go. That's what I've been saying. So he finally came around to my way of thinking. He's listening. Send checks to businesses and the self-employed based on a reduced percentage of average sales to avoid people being let go and businesses and entrepreneurs needing to close their doors. He knows more than me about this, I would think, but again, maybe I'll reach out to him and have him explain it to me.
I keep going back to put the money in the hands of the people.
That's what I'm going.
That seems to me the most simplistic and most direct and most employable.
I agree with
you. You could do that immediately.
I agree with you 100%. That seems way more easy. It's tempting to throw bigger and bigger checks at this, but the problem is that right now we can't really spend them. Oh, he's saying that if you keep giving UBIs, people can't spend them. We can spend some of the money and need it for our basic bills, but we can't spend it as we usually would at places like the zoo. The zoo needs its own check. So this guy's saying you got to bail out businesses at the same time as you bail out people. I say that's double overkill. But again, we'll get someone smarter your pantser than me to explain this to us. This guy says to him, he says, Scott, you mentioned bailouts. How should we feel about bailouts for companies like airlines who are raking in the money, and now that it stops, they are suddenly too poor to survive a couple of months? Maybe they should have put some money away. I'm kind of okay with emergency loans at most.
You know what? I don't understand why they're not legally bound to put enough money away for a constant. We're always told, don't you have enough money in your savings account to be able to prepare for emergencies?
I know, right?
No, we're $500 away from a fucking emergency crisis everybo's feeling right now, except the corporations that we bailed out 20 years ago.
Right.
They continue to need more money, and we have no skin in the game. We just keep bailing them out with our money.
And the airlines, according to Market Insider, who are begging for a bailout, but they've used 96% of their cash flow on buybacks over the past 10 years. It highlights an ongoing controversy over how companies have been spending their money. So it's irresponsible to do the buybacks when you don't have cash savings that could get you through a tough time. And so now we're going to have to subsidize them while they all put the stock buyback cash right in their pocket. So Scott replies saying, perhaps it's a good opportunity to accept stock in exchange for bailout money and put that stock into an Alaska-style permanent fund that pays dividends to every citizen. I say yes. So not unlike Barack Obama, when he got the stock, when he did the GM bailout and then just sold it, We take the stock and we put it into a permanent fund that pays people money, everybody who has a Social Security number. So I'm with you on that. So there you go. There's the caution about doing a pause and putting a freeze on evictions and mortgages and foreclosures. So that's his theory about that would be bad because then we'll just have to do a back end bailout later. And he's saying keep the money flowing. I say keep the money flowing, but I don't say give the money directly to businesses. I say give the money directly to people.
I say let's do that test this round. Let's do that test this time around.
Let's not
Instead
give
of
it to the
bailing
business.
out the businesses,
Let's
fucking
people.
bail out the people.
Right.
You know, the people who make this country move forward.
Right.
You know, because I'm thinking about they're gonna build all of these hospitals, right? And where are they going? There are going to be people who are in the medical profession, who are also in custodial, janitorial, that they're going to have to be a part of this, and they're going to have to expand the medical services. At the same time, won't they need people to help with those services and train people? So as far as I'm concerned, it makes sense to me to put the money in my pocket so I can keep the economy going. And I don't really understand how you would keep a restaurant going that's no longer at the production level that it has been at. How can you continue? I'm going to keep giving you money for the food and the maintenance and your staff.
Well, you're not running a business.
But there's no business to be run right now.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. So then the guy who owns the business gets to keep making $500,000 a year even though he doesn't have a business?
That doesn't seem like a strategic way to invest our money right now.
I'm with you.
It seems to me that everybody has to. I understand the concept of pause, that we all pause.
Right.
We have to. How are you going to? What the fuck?
No,
utilities?
No. I'm with him that we shouldn't pause, maybe, but. Yeah, you got to make sure people have money in their pockets to pay their mortgage and pay their rent.
I mean, Jimmy,
that's what you have to do. So you don't have to pause rent evictions or foreclosures, but you have to just make sure everybody has enough money in their pocket to pay it, which is basically canceling foreclosures and evictions anyway.
You know, and in the meantime that everybody's worried about their income, you have these families that are trying to figure out what they're doing with their children at home. How are they supposed to maintain their education? What can they possibly do for the next 3 months? So I think I'm all for bailing out the people. I think bailing out the people at this point is something that is first and foremost. And, you know, I'm going to keep saying this, bail out the people, and we know they're not going to do it. Look what Nancy Pelosi is doing. Look at Chuck Schumer, what they're doing.
In fact,
and they're fucking criminals.
Hey, this is the part where I tell you where our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then I would tell you to go join our premium, but nobody has a fucking job. So why don't you just enjoy the video?